It is a random Sunday afternoon. You are passively scrolling through your social media feeds on YouTube or Instagram, and you inevitably encounter one of those hyper-stylized videos promising a massive transformation. How I became a millionaire in 18 months, or turn $1,000 into $1 million with this simple operational trick. For a brief second, a quiet friction sets in, and you find yourself wondering if you are missing a critical macroeconomic secret. You work incredibly hard and earn a completely respectable income, yet when you log into your personal banking portal, the numbers look absolutely nothing like millionaire progress. Naturally, you begin to question reality. Is building legitimate? Wealth actually achievable for an ordinary professional? Or is the entire internet simply exaggerating the metrics? The fundamental problem is that mainstream financial advice online falls into two dangerous extremes. On one side, you have the reckless get-rich-quick community, peddling volatile cryptocurrency secrets, day trading systems, and saturated dropshipping hacks. On the opposite side, you have the painfully slow, traditional advice that tells you to aggressively sacrifice your youth for 40 full years so that you can finally live comfortably at age 65. Neither of those narratives is satisfying or practical for an ambitious mind. But here is the structural secret that very few people truly process. Building real independent wealth does not require 40 grueling years, and it absolutely cannot be executed in 6 months. However, a 5-year window is the exact mathematical sweet spot. 5 years is more than enough time to completely overhaul your entire financial existence if you direct your energy toward the correct structural drivers. Today, we are breaking down the realistic, unvarnished blueprint to building serious financial momentum over the next 60 months, not the flashy fictional version, but the one that actually delivers results. Let's initiate this blueprint with an uncomfortable financial truth. True wealth is mathematically impossible to build through the act of saving alone. You might instinctively ask, wait, isn't accumulating cash in a bank account the entire point of personal finance? The answer is a definitive yes and no. Accumulating capital is completely necessary for baseline stability. But attempting to build real wealth through a traditional savings account is the exact economic equivalent of trying to fill a massive swimming pool using nothing but a teaspoon. Consider the numbers. Imagine an individual saves a consistent $300 every single month. Statistically, that person is operating at a superior level compared to the vast majority of the population. Official data from the Federal Reserve reveals that nearly 40% of citizens are entirely incapable of covering a minor $400 emergency without actively borrowing capital or accumulating credit card liabilities. So, maintaining a $300 monthly cash surplus is a solid defensive achievement. But let's analyze the raw math. $300 a month translates to $3,600 per year, across a 5-year horizon that accumulates to a static $18,000. Even if you aggressively invest that capital and capture a reliable 8% annual return, your final balance only hovers between $21,000 and $22,000. While that is a respectable cash cushion, it is completely incapable of altering your life's trajectory. This introduces the most fascinating dynamic of the wealth system. The primary driver of net worth during the initial 5 years of your journey is not your investment return. It is your income growth. Early in your accumulation phase, your most dominant financial asset is not your passive savings account. It is your active earning capacity. Think of your primary income as the internal engine of a vehicle. If your engine is structurally small, no amount of clever steering or optimized investing will make that vehicle travel fast. You don't need a different steering wheel. You need significantly more horsepower. The exact same rule governs your capital. The moment you scale your active income, every secondary financial discipline becomes effortless. Saving scales automatically. Investing accelerates exponentially and toxic. Consumer liabilities disappear at lightning speed. Let's map out a direct comparison to visualize this mechanic. Imagine two professionals. Person A earns $3,000 per month and manages to save 10% of their income, which equates to $300 a month. Person B dedicates the exact same timeline to aggressively upgrading their high-value skills systematically negotiating corporate raises, or engineering high-margin side income. Consequently, their income scales to $5,000 per month. If person B maintains that exact same baseline 10% savings rate, they are now effortlessly routing $500 every single month into their reserve. That single behavioral shift automatically injects an extra $12,000 into their net worth over a 5-year window. If that income gap expands even wider, the final wealth chasm becomes absolutely massive. This brings us to step 1. You must aggressively expand your primary income. Before you dismiss this step and think that if scaling your salary were simple, everyone would execute it, let's look at the data. True income expansion does not occur overnight, but the vast majority of professionals completely underestimate how radically their earning capacity can evolve across a 5-year timeline. 60 months is an immense window to master a specialized high-tier skill, execute a strategic career pivot, launch a high-leverage side enterprise, or negotiate multiple corporate raises. In fact, official metrics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics conclusively demonstrate that workers who strategically transition between organizations increase their base salaries by an average of 10 to 20% per move. If you execute that exact maneuver just twice within a 5-year window, your baseline income architecture will look completely unrecognizable. However, scaling your incoming cash flow is completely useless if you fall victim to the second major wealth killer: lifestyle inflation. The standard consumer trap is entirely predictable. You successfully secure a corporate raise, your brain instantly tells you to upgrade every single facet of your existence. You move into a more expansive apartment, you sign a contract for a newer vehicle, and you adopt significantly more expensive daily consumption habits. Before long, your active income has surged dramatically, yet your net liquid bank account remains completely flat. Behavioral psychologists formally define this exhausting psychological loop as hedonic adaptation.
The human brain possesses an
incredible ability to rapidly normalize upgrades in lifestyle. That brand new vehicle delivers an intense dopamine rush for approximately 3 months. After 90 days, it simply becomes your baseline normal, and your brain immediately begins craving the next expensive upgrade. This psychological trap is precisely why step 2 is absolutely mandatory. You must lock in your savings rate. 2. Defeat lifestyle creep. You must enforce an ironclad behavioral boundary. Every single time your income experiences an upward surge, you must automatically commit to saving and investing at least 50% of that net raise. For example, if you successfully increase your income by $1,000 per month, is $500 of that new cash. Its flow must be instantly rooted into your investment engine before your brain ever registers its existence. The remaining $500 is yours to completely enjoy, guilt-free, to elevate your current quality of life. This single rule creates a beautiful harmony. It permits you to enjoy the fruits of your labor while completely preventing lifestyle inflation from sabotaging your long-term wealth trajectory. Once you have fortified your cash flow and insulated it against lifestyle creep, the investing matrix finally enters the equation. This brings us to step 3. You must give your capital an explicit job. Once you possess a highly consistent, protected monthly cash surplus, those dollars must be deployed as aggressive workers. Historically, the single most reliable mechanism for long-term wealth accumulation has been broad market index investing. Over the past century, S&P 500 index has delivered an average annual compounding return of approximately 10%. Naturally, asset markets experience short-term volatility and unpredictable fluctuations over weeks and months, but across extended historical horizons, consistent, automated investing has remained the most mathematically sound wealth building strategy available to the public. Let's run a practical 5-year calculation. Suppose that through a combination of income expansion and strict lifestyle insulation, you successfully scale your automated investing to a clean $1,000 every single month. Over a 60-month timeline, you will have seamlessly deployed $60,000 of raw principal into the market. With standard, moderate historical growth, that portfolio can easily expand to $70,000 or more. But here's the breakthrough. Concept that most everyday investors fail to realize. The ultimate value of that 60-month window isn't the final dollar balance you achieve. It is the unshakable momentum you construct within your own life. Once your portfolio crosses that threshold, the subsequent 5 years accelerate at a terrifyingly fast pace. Consider the reality of a close colleague of mine who spent his early 20s trapped in a state of perpetual financial anxiety. His savings were practically non-existent, and his baseline income barely covered his urban living expenses. He made one deliberate, unshakable choice for 5 full years. He completely blocked out the digital noise and focused exclusively on 3 core metrics: expanding his active income, aggressively freezing his lifestyle expenses, and automating his index fund investments. He avoided flashy speculative assets, ignored complex trading systems, and executed 0 risky plays. He simply relied on raw behavioral discipline. At the conclusion of that 5-year window, he commanded over $80,000 in liquid market investments. But more importantly, his primary income engine had completely doubled. This meant that his next 5-year compounding cycle was going to move twice as fast. That is exactly how real generational wealth is, forged not through a singular stroke of luck, but through the compounding velocity of momentum. If you are fully committed to building legitimate wealth across the next 5 years, your realistic roadmap is beautifully clear. First, focus intensely on scaling your primary income engine. Your active earning capacity is your ultimate financial weapon. Second, insulate your net worth against lifestyle inflation by automatically redirecting at least half of every single raise into your wealth bucket. Third, deploy that consistent surplus into broad market, long-term assets that expand in alignment with human progress. And fourth, maintain absolute consistency for the full 60 months. The reality that most people despise hearing is that true financial freedom is never the byproduct of a single brilliant gamble. It is the mathematical result of hundreds of seemingly insignificant, boring decisions repeated with absolute discipline day after day. The next 5 years of your life are going to arrive on the calendar whether you actively prepare for their arrival or completely ignore them. The only variable within your control is what your financial net worth will look like when that date arrives. Will you still be caught in the exact same loop, feeling permanently stuck? Or will you have constructed the kind of deep, unshakable momentum that makes the next decade of your life look completely different? Sometimes the entire chasm between staying broke and building a small fortune comes down to choosing a superior strategy and possessing the absolute discipline to give it enough time to execute its job. If this structural breakdown helped reframe your relationship with capital, hit that subscribe button right now. I am deeply curious about your personal timeline. Where exactly do you want your net worth to sit exactly 5 years from today? Drop your specific target in the comments section below. Remember, that future version of you is manufactured entirely by the automated choices you lock in this year.